This is my standard test cell I've used for about a year, and it's a two-section cell. The two wires are because I have extra current carrying capability. This is one of the impedance bridges that I use, and trying to find out what the capacitance of the cell is. Very hard to measure, but as close as I can come to, it's 70 microfarads. And then the inductance of the rod, which is 200 millimeters by 50 millimeters, is 0.56 microhenries. And this is the circuit. The top meter is showing the current from the power supply, the voltage across the cell, and then the bottom one is the current being drawn through the cell circuit. Notice it's almost twice, in fact it is over twice the amount of current drawn from the cell. And this is the waveform, and this is the box, the lab box I use. That's my gain control, which allows me to control the amplitude of square wave, which would be the level control on the schematic. And then the DC offset is the same as the bias control in my schematic. And this is a setup I had outside. You see the speaker, which is a wood piece with magnets against the rod. We're running 12 volts out. This is the newer circuit board showing the DAMFast diode and the N-channel MOSFET. I should say an IR540 instead of an IP540. Suggest you use multiples of those. And there's the mounting of the DAMFast diode. You can see the rod, how it's wound, and the speakers on top of it. On the left bottom corner is a forced air fan, which takes about 1 amp to run. When I started this test, the coil was running in the middle at 175 degrees without cooling. Again, this is showing the current coming in, which is 3.4 amps, and the current in the cell is 7.1 amps. This is all covered in the Chapter 10 PDF put together by Patrick Kelly. So it's good reading again. In fact, I recommend you both Chapters 9 and 10.pdf to try to get a better understanding of working and trying to produce Overunity. Now, this part of the circuit I have not tried yet because I do not have these large capacitors, but you're supposed to be able to run a 10-watt bulb off of this circuit while producing HHO. So here is the current coming out of the power supply, 12 volts at 3.4 volts at resonance. And then the bottom meter is showing that the cell current is drawing 7.3 amps, and it's 2.55 volts across the cell. And this is how I got it patched out of my lab box. It's just a square wave. It is rich in harmonics, okay? And it's really nice to have one of these boxes. I paid $10 for it at Goodwill. And so without cooling the rod, the current in cell circuit is 7.1. There's a simple squirrel cage blower that I'm using, and it's centered in the center of the rod. And after cooling starts, it goes up to about 7.9 amps and then finalizes at 8 amps, which is a gain of 9/10 of an amp with cooling. And the voltage across the cell goes to 3 volts. And you can see the burn portion of the rod. It got to 266 degrees and I shut it off. Now we're going to look at supply current versus cell current, almost out of resonance. And we're getting from the power supply 12.4, but the current through the circuit is 13.6 amps. Overunity ratio is 1.04%. Now again, we're going to do the supply current versus the cell current at maximum resonance point. The current from the cell, the power supply is 3.3, but the cell is drawing 7. I forgot what that was, and we're getting an Overunity of 232%. Temperature at the bottom of the cell is around 77 degrees, and the electrolyte is at 96.7 degrees. What I really want to do is have people replicate this circuit. This should be very easy. You can do usually use any type of cell, but I recommend just a simple cell is all you need. I would believe that the resonance frequency that I've found on this particular setup is about 1.6 K. So here, you know, you can go back to some other videos and get the complete schematic. It's clear enough in the HQ version that you can duplicate this. These rods are hard to find. Get an old radio that has a loop stick antenna inside and strip it off, and that's what I started out with. These that I'm using now I had to get out of Russia, and you have to buy quite a quantity of those, but I'm now able to wind 100 turns on that 200 millimeter length. So what is really happening? Are we really at Overunity? I really need to redo these steps again using analog calibrated shunts, and that will be in my next video. Thanks for watching.